Okay, welcome back to part 2 of this 12 Super Famicom episode, and I'm going to be taking a look at 4 more. So number 5 seems to be working. Now it's very yellowed and it's a little bit cracked in the front here, but let me take a look at it further. So unless I'm missing something, this seems to be working okay. So I'm just going to disassemble it to clean it, and I also have to put this corner back with some super glue. So that's all I'm going to do with this unit. So here it is, it's still missing the top shell, and every game I tested with works. So this one truly works, so on to the next one. So now we got one with no signal. Now it doesn't even give me a black screen. So I suspect it's a dirty cartridge connector, so I'm going to clean that first. This also had one of the corner posts broken, so I have to remove the screw. So I'll grip it with a pair of tweezers and unscrew it like this. Before I even unscrew everything, I noticed that this one's really dirty. Now after a good clean, I get it to work and it fires up with the burn-in test cartridge. It passes everything, and then I tested with Donkey Kong Country off screen, and it worked, but then it stopped working. So it was really a bizarre issue. I was playing with the reset switch and it was resetting well, and then it became intermittent, and then I couldn't get anything else from it. So I suspect I might have shorted something on this reset switch, so I'm gonna just pull it out of circuit and see if I get it to fix. Of course it didn't help, so now I'm gonna start pulling caps off. Now I suspect that it might be one of these power caps for whatever reason. So I pull this one out, and then I pulled out the one above it to see if I get any change. I also pull off this one next to the reset switch, which I suspect might have been bad. So after replacing these three caps, I didn't get any change, so then I started thinking I may have fried the U9 chip, which from what I understand it's the chip that pertains to the reset circuitry. So off camera I forgot to record. I did pull off U9, as you can see it's in my tweezers there, and I'm gonna take it from a donor board and replace that. Now this chip is smaller than the other chips, so me trying to pin it in position was quite the challenge, so I had to just pin one corner and then rotate it into position. So even after all that, I still didn't get any change. So now I'm gonna go to the lockout chip. I don't know why it would be the lockout chip, but I'm gonna replace that anyway. So I replaced it off camera. I didn't get footage of it, and I actually did a number on this reset switch. I'm gonna turn the board over so you can just see it. It's sitting almost at a 45-degree angle. It still works, and it's Super Famicom, they're dirt cheap, so I'm not too worried about the reset switch. I have plenty, But if this one is working, even as it is right now, I'm gonna leave it like that. So finally, after switching the CIC chip, I did get an image on the screen. So it just goes to show those CIC chips do go bad at times. Now I really don't even have an explanation as to why the CIC failed, but from what I understand, playing with the reset switch may have fried it for some reason. I know I had Donkey Kong loaded up, I kept resetting it more frequently than I should have, and then it just became intermittent every time I would flick the on and off switch, and then ultimately it just got no signal. So with the top shell still not in place, I'm going to test it with a few more games, and it seems to be working. So here we have another one with no signal. So like always, I remove the screws off camera, and then I'll troubleshoot from there. Now this one seems to have a lot of lint in it and a little bit of rust in the corner. So let's test it out. And of course I still get no signal. This is one of those units that have the cartridge connector soldered to the board. So I'm going to check under here for broken traces, but to check under here I have to remove it from the board. So of course I reflow it with some fresh solder, and I always test it to make sure that doesn't solve the issue, and then I remove it from the board. So there's a lot of lint under here, so I'm gonna clean this, see if I can see broken traces. Okay, so I don't see any broken traces. So I'm going to start removing some of these video caps here. These are the video and audio caps. They usually fail, but I tested them. They're not short, but they could still be bad. So I'll test them and replace them. Now since the old cartridge connector is kind of rusty, I'm going to take a new one from this parts board. Now I took almost every chip off this parts board already, may as well take the cartridge connector too. Of course, before I put the new cartridge connector in, I'm going to clean up this corrosion with some Brasso first. So I wrapped some paper towel around my tweezers with some Brasso and try to polish up this AV connector here, because I see a lot of rust on the RF port, so this could actually have some rust or corrosion on this. So with everything replaced and reassembled, it's time to test it again. It seems we get an image. Now I suspect it was either the cartridge port that was bad or the AV connector that was dirty. What I should have done was tested the RF module to see if I got an image, so I really don't know what was wrong here. Now this piece here is full of rust, so I'm just going to toss it. You don't need it, it's just a interference shield and it's not necessary. So it seems like all the games are loading up. This one's working too. So here we have another one with no signal. So once again, I'll remove all the screws off camera. So with everything cleaned up, I still didn't get any change. So I'm going to remove these audio video caps. Now I did make sure to clean the cartridge connector well, and I did clean the AV port like last time, and I still didn't get any change. So this one's actually, I'm losing confidence in this one. Now I did lift that pad just now, but I sat it back down and I tested for continuity. Everything is still good. So here's me swapping this crystal. Now, spoilers, I swapped other things off this board and I didn't get any change. And of course with this crystal I also didn't get any change. So I'm going to use this board for parts, and I suspect that I'm going to need a CPU or a PPU for the upcoming units. So this one's perfect for that, if the CPU is good or the PPUs are good. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this one. I'm just going to use this one for parts. So I hope you like, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned for the next part.